I do understand that when things go wrong, you can't. And majority of farmers, especially small scale farmers, don't have that kind of cover.
Yeah.
So you got to build it into your business model. You got to build it into everything so that you are protected.
Welcome back to Your 2 Cents. My name is Mudiwa Gavaza, and for today we're getting into the world of agriculture, still talking about business, still talking about how the youth can get involved in this particular sector, still talking about some of the realities that exist in the space. This is not a conversation that's only about agriculture, but also some of the realities that come with owning a business in South Africa. We're just going to be looking at it through the lens of farming. We are joined by Lliam Roach. He is the founder of Ezulwini Africa, and they're helping, some of the small scale farmers, working with them, just to enter some of the big supply chains that are there in South Africa. They actually have, quite an established presence, supplying the likes of Wimpy and Kowai, but also helping them with some of their farming practices as well, using things like aquaponics. We're going to get into some of those technical terms. How do you get more out of the land that you are on? Talking to him earlier on, you say looking at about 3 times the yield that you normally get. How are they teaching farmers around some of those things? Getting into the realities of the finances of operating a farming operation, as well as the personal financing considerations as well for a farmer, for a small business owner in that particular sector. And we're also going to be touching a little bit around how you can get into insurance and what it also takes. A big shout out to the team over at Capitec for helping to support this particular episode. If you're interested in any of the products, make sure you look into the description. We've got a link in the show notes where you can actually go and find out a little bit more about some of their offerings. Lliam, greetings to you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been it's my first podcast, so I'm pretty excited for this.
I really hope that this will be a good first start for you in the podcasting world, and that this will be the gateway, to get you onto more podcasts in future.
Yeah, I'm actually I really love listening to podcasts on my travels. I travel a lot, going to farms and stuff. So it's my escape. So I'm excited for this journey.
All right. Speaking of journeys, maybe let's get into yours as a good jumping off point for something like this. Ezulwini Africa, right? You've heard me trying my best to describe what it is that you guys do. I've used the word aquaponics. I've spoken about the smallholder farmers. I've spoken about the fact that you guys are supplying into some of the big, supply chains. I mentioned Kowai, Wimpy. I know I'm missing, some of the other names there, and the fact that you're working to try and improve farmers, the practices that they have, and also how they can, feed into some of these supply chains. That's my understanding. What are we missing there?
So Ezulwini was an idea between my business partner and myself to try and solve a lot of the problems around agri. We find that most workers within the agri space are seasonal workers. They really don't have a way of breaking out of the place where they're at. Yeah. So they're paid seasonally, normally minimum wage, and they're just unable to break through that cycle. So, and then you get the subsistence farmer that's supplying the markets, has no price control of his product, has no know-how really other than his grandfather's education of how to run the farm. So they do things that were done hundreds of years ago. So we felt that there's a need to help these guys become commercially viable farms and enable them to be able to access markets that they wouldn't be able to due to quality, price, logistics, all of those problems.
Yeah.
And then just making sure that they farm as best as they can using our systematizing, enabling them to access those markets, because now suddenly they've got a beautiful product. They can sell it at the right price to the right consumer, and then they become viable businesses. So we went about this journey as a solution-driven idea. We didn't build a farm to build a farm to farm. We essentially built a farm to learn, to build a system around it, enabling these guys to be successful.
When it comes to the farming world and agriculture, there are a number of different models that have been used to address the problem that you're talking about.
Yeah.
We see it with farming cooperatives, where some of the farmers will come together, try to band their efforts. Maybe you gather 50, 100 farmers, and then they go and negotiate, with the big guys. We also see it with some of the, either a big retailer or an agritech company, where they will have outgrowers, or they'll have some type of supply chain development program of some sort. What makes your model perhaps a bit different from perhaps the established way that corporates, or other entities have gone about actually trying to address this issue?
So we're trying to build call it a farming system where there's a commercial model that works, right? So if call him Sipo comes along, it's one of the guys that works for me, comes along and says, I've got this piece of land. I don't know, I'm farming, but I don't know how to get it to market. I don't know. I'm part of this cooperative, but I get squeezed on price every year and I just can't break out of this cycle. We wanted to create a business model for these guys that, with our support, with our tech and our the task management system that we've created, every single farmer on his land knows exactly what to do, when to do it. So essentially making them financiable. So going to the bank, yes, we're backed by Ezulwini. They are our guide. They guide us. They show us. They help us sell to the right markets. Instantly, they become a financially viable investment.
Yeah.
So for us, that was the goal. I do get these other it's never really about the farmer. That's the problem. This is about the farmer. This is about uplifting, giving them real equity, ensuring that they are making the money at the end of the day. They're able to send their kids to good schools. They're able to break out of the cycle.
Okay. Let's extend the example of Sipo, since we're already here. Sipo comes and says, Liam, this is what's happening to me. I'm interested in your system. He's got his piece of land. What is he typically growing on his land? How does he then fit into the Ezulwini system?
So for us, it all starts with training. So for me, I need to make sure that not only they are able to do the farming part, they're able to follow our systems, but they're also driven. For me, my biggest challenge has been finding people that are driven and can see a goal at the end of the day. Not just there to work, not just there for, to pay the bills at the end of the month, but what am I doing in 10 years from now? 20 years from now, that kind of thing. So for us, it all starts with training, making sure that they understand everything and they can form part of our ecosystem. And then from there, we would guide them. Once they are ready, we would assist them in funding their own farm. And we would probably take some debts to help them do that. So there's numerous government entities that fund these kind of things. They just don't have a proven vehicle to get these guys into. There's a lot of these guys that have been funded. They farm for a year, and then at the end of the year, there's no seeds to plant the next crop, and then they go looking for more funding. That's not the way to run a business. The business has to be, have to understand the business from the ground up. And part of our training is business training. They need to understand how to run the thing. Otherwise, it's never going to be a success. Sustainability is essentially a profitable business, so we can replicate.
Up to this point, whatever you can share with us, understanding, of course, that there's probably some confidentialities here and there. How many people have maybe gone through let's call it the school of Ezulwini? And what does your cohort look like right now?
So let me give you the breakdown from the start. We are 6 years into this project.
Yeah.
Obviously, aquaponics is quite capital intensive.
Mm.
So we built for about a year and a half before we actually started farming.
Yeah.
We have that farm, which is in Delstrom, Pumalanga. And from there, we started farming and learning and learning with serious school fees because we're not farmers. I'm just an entrepreneur.
I was going to ask if you're a farmer. Yeah.
So we had to learn the hard way, which is great because there's no old farmer telling you exactly what to do, when to do it, because we want to learn the hard way. We want to document our learnings. We want to incorporate it into our system. So Ezulwini learned like that. And now we are farmers. I can gladly say we've broken even. This was a minimum viable unit. We built the smallest we can to just make a profit.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, which we've done successfully about 6 months ago for the first time. Okay. With regards to the training side of things, the only training we've done to date is our own team that is on the ground.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're taking the step up to take on another farm. We are looking for whether it's aquaponics, hydroponics, whatever guys to implement our systems with, so that we can help them and see how our system fits in with their kind of farming. So we're at that stage now where we're ready to start doing the phase up into other farmers.
I'm very interested in the funding aspect, right? Yeah. Because whenever we have these conversations with entrepreneurs, there's always a question about how are you funding, the operation. You spoke about your assistance to some of the people that are on your program. You help them, to access, debt or whatever it is to help them. But for yourselves, how have you funded yourself? And more specifically, aquaponics. Give us an understanding of what it is for those of us that have not gone through 6 years of trying to understand farming. What's aquaponics? But how is the funding aspect influenced by the fact that you're in aquaponics?
So let's start with funding. Funding is always a challenge, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have an investor in the business, Mitch. He's basically funded us to date to get us to this point. Always with the big idea of this is going to be a big thing. Obviously, we're going to be able to roll this out. We're going to be able to make a lot of these businesses successful, and so he's invested quite a lot in the growth to this stage. Now it's a different discussion. It's about finding the DFIs and there's a project that we're looking at right now in Hekport where if we can access some of the debt funding through the banks to buy this farm that's no longer setup is everything is there. It's a matter of making sure the financials make sense and showing it to the right investors. And then there's a lot of sort of impact investors out there that are keen on, if you consider what aquaponics is, we're farming fish and produce in the same system.
Yeah.
So we're getting a protein and a veg out of the same square meterage that any other farmer would be just producing veg, essentially, or protein. We reuse our water. So it's a circular system. We use about 10% of the water that a normal farm would use. We're producing in Delstrom, we're producing trout, rainbow trout, and mostly lettuce, herbs, spring onion, celery, that kind of thing. We do some fruiting tomatoes and a little bit of that every now and again. Out of 1,000 square meters, you can make this a seriously commercial unit that profits well, pays the staff well. The biggest part of why we do this is to make sure staff is paid well, they're on medical aid, they have pensions, they have all the things that they need to take the weight off. That's the goal. We don't want them to be suffering. We want them to be out of what they would usually be if they were just farm workers.
1,000 square meters is actually not that much,
It's not.
right? Because you could do 20 meters one way, 50 meters
Exactly.
the other way.
Exactly.
The
So
type of yields you're talking about are quite.
our tunnel at the moment is 90 meters by 12.8 wide. So it's literally just 1,000 odd squares.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we produce a lot of greens out of there. The other nice thing about aquaponics is it's not seasonal. So we don't plant and then harvest 3 months later. We plant every week, we transplant every week, and we harvest every week.
Wow.
So a quarter of that tunnel is out every week. Essentially, so we don't have the ups and downs that usual farmers would be. It's a intensive way of farming.
I think that helps me to answer one of the key questions that I had, right? To say, I mentioned Kawhi, I mentioned Wimpy earlier on. You can fill in, some of the others that you're supplying into, to say, how do you feed, that probably really constant demand.
So the nice thing is we know exactly what we've got every week. We know exactly how much volume we've got. So we've built our customer base accordingly to what we can supply. Because you don't want to be supplying, a massive Pick and Pay or Checkers or whatever it might be, and then they say we need 3 tons delivered this week, and then suddenly lettuce is in season and now they need 20 tons.
Yeah.
We can't do that at our current scale. But we've built our customer base around what we can supply. Food lovers, also quite a good customer of ours. The Kauais, Wimpies, and then there's Joburg Market. So Joburg Market takes our stock, and they obviously a lot of the fruit and veggies around Johannesburg buy from them. So we see our stock everywhere. I mean, I've walked into fruit and veggies all over the place, and I'm like, my stuff's here, which is great. But people have come to understand that our stuff is quality. When they buy it, they know it's got 2 to 3 weeks shelf life on it because it's harvested, the day before it hits the market. And that's the way of building that customer base up. I do believe if we do expand on our current farm footprint, how much we can produce, those relationships will just grow with it.
That's really great. One of the things that I'm curious then to find out is, I think we now have a firm picture of what your farming operation looks like, the funding considerations as well. We started off the conversation talking about you addressing the issues that some of that small scale farmers face to become financially viable. I want to go a little bit deeper, into that. We've spoken about people perhaps not knowing what the most efficient ways, of getting the most out of their land is, making sure that you have something like seeds, for the next season. That's something that you mentioned, accessing debt. What are some of the other perhaps realities, that you're also trying to help that farmers are facing out there?
So I think from my perspective, a lot of it is training. A lot of it is being tied into certain seed supply or pesticides and nutrients that they're using. Understanding different ways that you can farm, so they're stuck in the way that their grandfather taught them, and they don't know a different way, which is understandable. So it's a lot about education and showing them what's out there and what's doable. Like you said, the size of the farm isn't massive. I mean, we were talking earlier about 30 hectares minimum to make a profit out of sugarcane or something like that. But out of this, which is a tiny, I think it's 1.5 hectares maximum, you are producing a real income for yourself and your family. So I think the other challenges would be access to debt. They can't. They literally can't unless they have a business model that works, and that means keeping records, which they don't generally do. Ever being able to supply a Woolworths or a Checkers or a Pick and Pay because they don't have GAP, which is a certification they can get, and they can't get that because they don't have the paperwork, the business model. So there's so many hurdles for them to jump.
Lots of red tape,
and they can't get there because there's no route for them. So we're trying to create that route, and really fix these problems that are. You can't just fund farms and expect them to find their way. You have to show them the way, guide them, and obviously, for us to back them, it's got to be financially viable for us as well. So hopefully, we all make a profit at the end of the day. Yeah.
I think that helps us get to what I consider the unsexy side, of farming, because I think typically people don't think of farming as sexy.
No, not at
all. Once you get into it, in the hard slog of it, there are some, unfortunate realities, that come there. Crops not working out, that
Pests,
type of thing, pests, disease.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that aspect.
Sure, that's probably been my biggest headache. I mean, I come from a sort of engineering background and distribution logistics, my previous business. Pests management and disease management has been an eye-opener for me. I don't know how these guys survive, to be honest, with no support. I've learned a lot in the last 5 years. But yeah, those are the challenges. Those are the things. I mean, we've created an app now that you can take a photo of a pest sitting on your lettuce leaf and it'll tell you what it is. It'll tell you how to do it, how to deal with it. It'll tell you the spray program. And, so those are the tools that we want to really help these guys with. So yeah, I'd say the day-to-day running of a farm is not fun. It's the routine. It's making sure you're doing things at the right time when you're supposed to do it. Yeah. But our task management system that we've integrated with our farm in Dahlstrom, literally, I've got a team of 6 there that run this farm on their own. And they each have on their phones an app that tells them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and if there's a problem, they flag it. We know about the problem before it becomes a problem. So it's this repetitive, making sure that everybody's in the know when they're supposed to know, and that way we never let our customers down. That's the goal, right? Because if you don't have produce to sell, then you don't have a business.
The one comment I will make about the system that you've been describing, and especially earlier on when you spoke about your tunnel, that there's, it's like a 1 week in, 1 week out, type of system that you have. I think those are such great timelines because it means that you get to know your life within a short space of time. Did this thing work or not in a week? And you're able to constantly rotate. Whereas, things like your maize farming, your sugar, the world that I come from, you're looking at months, and
then you get a downpour with rain and everything changes immediately.
Yeah.
So we're in quite a controlled environment. We call it sort of controlled environment farming. So we're not affected by, the big rains, the big hails. I mean, thank goodness we haven't had hail come through our tunnel. But so unless it's a disaster, we're pretty well. So, I mean, we manage to control our temperatures, humidity, water temperatures, pH, all the things that the lettuce and the produce needs, we can control right down to, our database that we've collected over the last 5 years about down to per gram, per lettuce growth per week.
That's a lot of detail.
And we still do it. We're recording so much so we can really understand the small little changes that you can change to maximize your farming effectively. So we want max growth rate as fast as possible because at the end of the day we're selling weight. So if we can maximize that just by changing our pH by 0.1, we do it. And we find that, certain lettuce varieties grow better in the system, some don't. And then we tweak and and the nice thing is because we've been doing this now for a long time, we can say, okay, this will work in Limpopo or this will work down in the Eastern Cape. So we can start to use the conditions that we've learned and the varieties that we've used in different locations. So when Sipho comes along and says, I want to start one in Eastern Cape in his hometown, I can say, cool, this is what we're going to grow. This is how we're going to build it. This is how this is your market.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's as easy as that.
Tied to this discussion that we're having about things working or not working out sometimes is insurance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Farmers are known as a big block
Yeah.
of customers for insurance, especially for the large crops, that we were talking about earlier. Huge swaths of land, hectares upon hectares, and months in advance that you have to plan for, huge capital outlay. For yourselves as as Ezulwini, what's your relationship like on the insurance front?
So insurance is important.
Mm.
I know because my wife's in insurance, my business partner as well is in ex-insurance.
So you're in good company.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I know the importance of it, and it's a necessity. Thank God we haven't had any big issues or claims like that. But I do understand that when things go wrong, it's you can't. And majority of farmers, especially small scale farmers, don't have that kind of cover.
Yeah.
So you got to build it into your business model. You got to build it into everything so that you are protected. I was thinking about it this morning with this new project that we're looking at. It's such a big part of it to make sure that if something goes wrong, I mean, farm theft, there's a lot of bigger issues out there. Making sure that we can cover, and then there's business loss, or I don't know what the word is. So if you business interruption insurance. So making sure if your tunnel blows away, you've got 2 months of cover because you've got to replant. You've got to there's a lot of things to consider. So yeah, it's super important for me.
In your helping of the small farmers that you do engage with, are they able to get covered, or do they sort of fall under whatever you have?
Yeah, so the biggest problem with them is they don't really know what they have.
Okay.
So, I mean, I did one not so long ago where we didn't even have an accounting system.
Wow.
So starting them off and getting their books right, getting their, understanding what your business actually looks like, is all part of that. Insurance, they're not going to pay you out if you can't prove what you actually had.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So simple record keeping.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. That's the key to make. So we make sure that anyone we get involved in understands the business side first, making sure that we can help them with the back end office support, the marketing, the sales, all of that, and included that obviously is your business. Is it registered? Do you pay VAT, or are you VAT registered? All those little pieces, 99% of them don't even think about. It's cash in, cash out, pay school fees, pay food, pay, maybe I simplify it a bit much, but that's essentially the problem we're trying to solve.
I'm even scared to ask if the farmers themselves, either the ones that you're working with or those that you come across in the ecosystem, are they themselves insured? Because it's one thing to talk about business insurance and that type of thing, but the other risk you almost have to, and it's unfortunate that we have to have these conversations, but the other risk you have to think about is, it's one thing to talk about the wind blowing away, let's say the tunnel and all of that, but quite another thing to also plan for what happens if you
to lose the farmer.
Yeah.
So that's key man insurance, I think. That is a big risk. That is a massive risk, because that's the business gone, and without that person, generally it stops in its tracks. So I think that is probably the last thing on their mind, to be honest. That is definitely the last, and it's a cost. It's an additional cost to an already very fine profit they're making, if at all. So essentially, I would say that they probably insure their car if they've got one, through Outsurance or whoever it might be, which is also, I mean, there's many of them out there, but that's probably the most of it, to be honest.
All right. No, because I do know that you have, a lot of products that are out in the market right now. The likes of Capitec, I think you can get, life cover for as little as about 100 Rand, that are out there. do you see people taking on, some of these things, or is there still almost a hurdle in people's minds where either they're not thinking about it, or even just that, some of those cost considerations are even too much for them?
I think that's the problem. I think it's the cost consideration. I think already they're walking a very fine line,
Mm,
and when they have to pay another 100 rand a month to something that they will never really they'll never really consider that it will be a problem to them. I
mm.
mean, it's never going to be me, right? That's what they say. It's not going to be me, but I mean, it happens, unfortunately. So yeah, I'd say it's an educational thing that needs to be taught and understood, and show them the value of it, because it is the biggest risk. I mean, if we funded a farmer essentially, and we took debts to help him build his own farm, it'd be the first thing I did. Take out a key man insurance or some kind of cover to make sure that if he does pass away, we've got a plan solution for the business.
Okay. It's actually funny what you said just now, that it will never be me.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone who works in insurance recently, and they call it costly confidence.
It's true. It's true.
That's that's the term that
Yeah.
they came up with, because insurance is usually seen as a grudge purchase,
Yeah.
and you only think about it on the day.
Yeah. Ah, shit! I should have taken that out. Yeah.
Yes, on the day that something actually goes
Yeah.
wrong, or you actually
Yeah.
need something like that
Yeah.
to be in place.
And the day you cancel it, the next day something happens.
I do have to ask, as someone who's surrounded by all of these insurance people,
Yeah.
is yours in order?
I hope so. So yeah, I mean, between my wife and I, we make sure that it is a priority. We look at it every year, and the business side of things. Obviously, my partner is also quite involved there, so we make sure it's legit.
At least it sounds like you're quite sorted, on the insurance front. As I mentioned earlier on, at least the likes of Capitec have good options where a person can easily go in. You have an app. You don't have to have the medical checks. All of these things being done to actually reduce some of the friction, to actually get people insured. And especially if you're going to be a business person, it becomes very key. From that point of view. One of the things that I want to talk about as we end off the discussions is 2 points. The first one is, where do you see the demographics when it comes to farming right now? The people that either you're working with, or the people that you're encountering in the ecosystem. On this platform, we're very biased towards the youth. So it's always good to get a sense of what does youth participation look like, as far as you can tell, and what some of the things that can be done to make farming sexy, to the youth.
So we spoke about it earlier, but farming is not glamorous. It's difficult to go and do some farming with your nails done and your smartphone in your back pockets. So it's for me, the youth is a challenge, because at the moment it's not glamorous.
Yeah,
it's not a desk job, that kind of thing. So it's difficult, even though our whole goal is to assist and help the young black farmer. That's written into everything we are. So it's been a very, very big mountain to climb, trying to not only get these guys to come to the farm and to work and to succeed, but just to have some future vision about there's a great future here. I've given all of my guys, I've told them straight, you can have your own farm one day.
Oh, nice.
I will help you get your own farm one day. I will make it happen, but you have to show me that you desperately want it. Otherwise, it'll never happen. That's, to be honest, that's the hardest part. As soon as I find those driven individuals that all they want to do is make a success of themselves, jeez, I can take them, man. So for me, I feel like, and I don't want to talk badly about the youth, but I just feel like there's no more drive, or um, can't see the end of the tunnel. It's just this. I'm stuck in this thing and I can't get out. But that's part of the problem, is they are stuck, and they can't see a way out because they've got these bills piling on them, and there's no way out. So hopefully we can find some of these guys that can see the light, and we can help them get there.
You know what I'm hoping? I made this comment earlier on, but I'm really hoping that the timelines of a model like the one that you have can actually help people to think of farming in different ways, right? Because I think one of the things that, at least the engagements I've had with some young people about the prospects around farming, there's always this thought that it's going to take too long, right? People want instant gratification,
exactly,
right? They want to be able to do something and get money now,
immediately,
right?
Yeah.
But this is usually capital intensive.
Yeah.
You have long lead times. I'm hoping that the types of models you're talking about, right, where it's 1 week in, 1 week out, etc. Of course, that comes with the caveat that for you to get to the point of 1 week in, 1 week out, you spent a year and a half.
You're also in your investment cost, your setup cost of an aquaponics farm is a lot higher. Obviously, you can't just clear land and plant.
Yeah,
you have to build. You have to be. I mean, basically, if you had to look at our what's in our tunnel, there are huge pools of water with rafts. We call them floating rafts of polystyrene floating on them with in each hole, and there's 1,400 of them.
Wow.
Lettuce head in each one.
Wow.
So the infrastructure that you have to set up is a lot more, but like we said earlier, you can grow 3 times faster, so you repay that a lot quicker. So yes, it's intensive, and you do get the instant gratification, because once you're farming effectively and you found your market, you're making a lot more money every week, every month. That's why we're able to pay the staff more, able to grow them, maintain customers, because they don't want lettuce every 4 weeks. They want lettuce every week, at the same time and the same quantity. So that's the benefit of what we do.
Ending off, maybe as an extension to what we've just spoken about now, is the scaling aspect, right? Listening to you talking and having just read up a little bit about your business, it occurs to me that there's a couple of options that are available to you when it comes to scaling. You can either scale the operation itself and have more sites like the one you have, in Dahlstrom. I think you alluded to the fact that you're about to take over, another farm.
Yeah.
I also think about, I guess, the more people you train, the more people can get into your system, and that then becomes,
its
another
own ecosystem.
its own ecosystem there. And then I guess the third piece is getting, I guess, bigger mandates from your existing, from your existing customers. Either bigger mandates or adding customers to your roster.
So I think location is a big thing. We don't want to be shipping far. It's pointless to be doing that. So location driven, setting up farms within certain locations where your market is. So this other farm that I alluded to is out in Hekpoort, a lot closer to Pretoria and Joburg for us. That kind of model works a lot better. I think I can lean on my current relationships that I've built up near Middelburg side to get access within the Gauteng region without too much of a problem. But yeah, so I think as we grow, our challenges will change. I think think of it more like a franchise model, but not a franchise model. A franchise model where the franchisor is actually invested in the franchisee. So that's where we want to go. We want to help them build farms, but also earn some equity in it, because we want to reap the rewards and guide them through it as well. Essentially, that is the goal for us.
All right. Last thing, for someone who just wants the quick, rough almost breakneck speed, or what you call this crash course on farming, because you've had 6 years of
Yeah,
learning and breaking things.
yeah,
But for someone who wants a taste,
yes,
because obviously you're not gonna get everything
yeah,
in
yeah.
a crash course. Is there a book you can recommend or a source of information you can
Phew.
recommend?
I can tell you, YouTube for me has taught me
The
a
University
lot.
of YouTube.
Yeah, that's and you see, we have so many experts around us now after so many years of doing this,
Yeah.
that I can lean on a lot of people for help. As far as books goes, everyone has an opinion, to be honest, and everyone's opinion differs.
Mm.
So we've been guided down certain routes that were wrong, and we should have gone that way. So yeah,
Okay.
there's no quick fix to
There's no
farming.
quick fix.
You have to learn. You have to do it. You have to get your fingers dirty, and you have to get stuck in. And it's hard work, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. That's where we end off today's discussion. It has been great just listening to Lliam just talking to us about what the realities of farming, look like in South Africa right now, and a specific type of farming. I think most of us, like myself, I had heard of hydroponics.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't know that there was a difference with aquaponics, especially because you have the word hydro, the
Yes.
word aqua.
Just to add in there, we can apply our systems to hydroponic systems as well, and also
now you're just
normal
confusing us with the terms.
horticulture. We can help anybody. We just need to build, our task management around what they're actually doing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think next time we'll have a discussion with you, outside of aquaponics,
Yes.
about some of the other farming practices that you've been exploring that you can lend your model to. Also great, understanding how you're trying to help farmers using your own learnings as, someone who's a non-farmer who got into farming, and actually saying, how can we distill what has been learned over the last 5.5, 6 years to actually help some of the small scale farmers out there to actually become a lot more financially viable, and especially given the fact that you can be a lot more efficient with the land. The crop is able to grow, you said, 3 times faster.
Yeah. Water usage.
Yeah, water usage, I believe you said you're using about 10%
Yes.
of the water that's normally used. Also, just the attraction to impact investors and people that are concerned with, sustainability, especially the water aspect that you spoke about, the fact that you have crops and fish in the same place, different, types of farming. I'll
throw a last piece in there, and we're
Yeah.
fully organic essentially, because we can't use any chemicals, otherwise it'll kill our fish.
Yeah.
So there's so many pieces to this that just make sense.
Yeah.
Just got to put it all together.
And if you put it all together, then you have this really compelling, offering that a person can actually come into, a system that can actually be taught. We also spoke about, some of the funding aspects. What does it take to fund an operation like this? We got deep into the world of insurance, how important that is as a layer. Both on the business front and the personal front. The fact that, people have a lot of options that are available to them, speaking specifically, about some of the offerings available to individuals from the likes of Capitec, using technology to make some of those offerings a bit easier, and then ending off talking about where you're trying to go when it comes to scaling, and how you're thinking about it. You said location is the big thing that you're concerned about, because you don't want to move, too far, the goods from farm, to where they need to be in terms of
logistics.
in terms of the logistics piece. So it has been a really great one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great.
All right.
Shut.
That's where we end off. We've been in conversation with Lliam Roach. He is the founder of Ezulwini Africa, and really great understanding what's happening in the world of agriculture, some of the technological innovations that are helping farmers to do a lot more, with less, but also the realities, of actually putting down such an intensive system. But over time, it's something that's actually able to pay back at a much faster rate than anything else. Let this not be the last that you engage with us. Let us know what you think online. Comment, go on social media, TikTok, Instagram. Let us know what you think. If you want to engage with the team of Ezulwini, go and look for them online. We'll have some of their links in the description. And, maybe you will be part of the system and will be part of the scaling journey as we go forward. So that's been it. This has been your 2 cents. Lliam, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
with
so
us.
much. Appreciate it.